folks, I'm Rosie and I'm backstage at the Royal Opera House about to do a show. I thought I'd talk a little bit about performing and performance confidence. I've played to a lot of people, festivals, you can have thousands of people looking at you. I played at the BBC Proms, at Glastonbury, these events that I knew a lot of people were watching. Going on stage and having all these people looking at you is automatically terrifying. There's some part of our lizard brain that goes into fight or flight mode with this sort of standing stock still, deer in the headlights feeling. I want to talk about the pre-show ritual. Having some steps that I do before every big show really helps me, and I've been doing these for years. Firstly, have a banana. I don't know the science of it, but I do know it helps. Make sure you're well fed, you've had loads and loads of water. The first thing that happens to me performing is a dry mouth, dry throat, so I need to make sure I've had loads of water in the hours leading up to it. Which leads me to make sure you've used the bathroom in every way that you need to too. Know that as soon as you step on stage, sometimes things feel like they're moving around, so make sure you know that there's nothing that's going to come out. Can't believe I'm talking about this. Maslow's pyramid of needs, the food, the water, going to the bathroom, make sure all of those things are ticked off. You don't need any of those things when you're on stage. Once I've got all the basic needs out of the way, I have a 4-point plan. Before I do a show, I make sure I've done something from each of these categories. Energize, center, emulate, empower. So energizing is all about getting your energy up, getting the blood flowing around, doing some star jumps, making sure your body's warmed up for your performance or your voice, as well as making sure that you're in the right headspace. If you've come from somewhere else, maybe from work or a commute, you want to get yourself in the right headspace. So this is where I put on some music, have a dance around, do something to really get the blood flowing. What we do on stage is very technical. We want our hands and our fingers to be working well. I'm making some more videos about warm-ups, so make sure you check those out if you haven't already. I often find listening to music is a really great way to energize myself, so put on the best tunes, have a dance party, and it's a nice way of bonding with your colleagues if you've got bandmates or anyone like that that you're performing with. Having a dance together is a great way of energizing. Once I'm feeling up, I need to bring myself back down. That's where the centering comes in. So if you have a yogic practice or any kind of meditation or breathing, that's where I would do this. Find that stillness within yourself, ground yourself into the floor, whatever it is that makes you feel safe. And this, again, still isn't music, it's not the performance I'm gonna do, but this is me finding some stillness. For me, I've trained in karate for a few years, so running through some of those katas is a really lovely way for me to center myself, get myself into my body and moving around. Plus it makes me look badass. The next stage of a pre-show ritual is emulate. So think of a moment from the show and just practice through it. That may well be you using your instrument and playing those bits, or sometimes, especially as a percussionist, my instruments are already on the stage, so I can't play a warm-up on my instrument. Instead, I use visualization or mental practice, just thinking through that tricky moment of the show and doing it well in my brain is a really good way of practicing what's about to come. I like to make sure I've sung through literally the very first thing I'm going to do when I step on the stage, so that I know that I can already do it. I've already thought about it through. I know the journey onto the stage. I'm going to sit down, the first thing I'm going to say or play is already planned in my mind. Once I get onto that, I start playing the first piece. I know it's going to flow and the next bits are going to be fine, but just making sure that I'm solid on that very first bit. I've emulated it in my mind. Finally, something to empower yourself. Telling yourself some affirmations in the mirror, texting your best mate and asking for some suggestions. I've phoned my family before shows. It's just finding a way to make yourself feel good. Remembering the end of the last show can be a really nice way to empower yourself, because it will go well. You just need to remind yourself that just before you step on stage. Then I may be backstage in the wings and feel like I need a little bit more of one of these categories again. So I'm too jumpy, right, I'll center myself. I'm too tired, I'll do some star jumps. I've forgotten how this tricky bit goes. Okay, I'll emulate it in my mind or practice it. Or I feel scared. I might ask one of my colleagues for a little pep talk. But knowing what those 4 categories are means that you can get more of whichever thing you need in that moment. I've mentioned some examples. Sometimes I may have a big show where I have hours to prepare in a lovely dressing room, in which case I can do all of these steps. Sometimes I have a show where I've just set up and the audience is already there and I'm running on stage, so I only have a minute or two to go through all of these 4 phases. But you can do it, in the bathroom when you're getting ready, when you're checking your face. But making sure that you have some elements from all of these 4 warm-ups means that your pre-show ritual is totally gonna sort you out. Let me know in the comments how you normally feel before a show and which of these 4 elements you need to counteract that. And I'd love to hear your different suggestions for each of those categories. Do you call them something different? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I've got some more videos about warm-ups coming up, so check them out.